The news is also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. Affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are on Radio Justice in Tamale, Sky FM in Sunyai, Kaleo FM in Akachi, on A1 Radio Bolgatanga. We're live on X Spaces. We're on Facebook. We're on myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is proudly sponsored by Petrosol. Your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. This afternoon, High Court orders Office of the Special Prosecutor to return Cecilia Dapaah's seized properties within the next 7 days, insisting the OSP's actions were based on mere speculation and reaction to public sentiment. You want to stay with me as we take you live to the court and also bring you reactions to this decision. And later, also lawyers for 3 police officers accused of plotting the removal of the Inspector General of Police in leak tape demand the removal of the Vice Chairman of the committee, James Agalga, and a member, Peter Lanchini Tobu, for making prejudicial comments.
In a situation where you have the person coming to determine the rights of the individual, making comments before he even heard that individual, we are very alarmed. The honourable member had already made his mind.
We have a reaction from the 2 leading members of the ad hoc committee.
This committee is made up of members who have integrity. The statement attributed to me is purported to have been authored by a newspaper called The Standard.
I am hearing these words for the first time. And for Ghana Web, I don't know who they are and where they are.
We have details of that live proceedings in Parliament. Lawyer for aggrieved defunct Men's Gold customers welcome decision by the Attorney General to prosecute Nana Appiah Mensah at the High Court on 39 new charges, but she's sceptical.
The loss has been far more, not just the investors, but their families, and people have died, and people have also had stroke. You know, it is getting closer to election, and not that I'm saying that, you know, government is visiting this again because of that, but we must be seen as acting.
We'll get to hear from the former CEO of Men's Gold, who says he's ready to defend himself in court, insisting lack of understanding of his business model could be blamed for the perception that he set out to scam his customers.
So even if I'm going to go 1,000 times, that's fine. Whatever the state so decides, of course, in line with rule of law, I would subject myself anytime, any day. The Men's Gold business model, a lot of people didn't have proper understanding because it's technical.
And then there's sports.
Black Stars forward Abdul Fattah Issahaku joins Leicester City on loan from Sporting Lisbon.
And the Ghana Integrity Initiative raises concerns about timing of newly established emoluments committee by the president to review salaries and compensation of Article 71 office holders.
What is the justification for any president to want to constitute a committee which would then set up emoluments? The president could have decided that it's not an urgent matter.
We'll get to hear from President Akufo-Addo as he cautions the committee to be mindful of the economic situation in their recommendations.
And whether or not, notwithstanding the constitutional imperatives, we are deserving of what is being paid to us in view of the challenges currently confronting our national economy.
We have details of that and more here on the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Please stay on for details. Many thanks for your company. We dig in now. We start off from the court and return Cecilia Dapaah's properties to her within the next 7 days because we cannot confirm the freezing of her account. These are the orders of the Financial and Economic Court Division of an Accra High Court to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. According to the court, the OSP's act to seize the property in the matrimonial home of Cecilia Abena Dapaah and freeze her accounts was based on mere speculation and reaction to public sentiment and without legal basis. Richard Kujonyako is our legal affairs correspondent. He joins me on the line with details. Richard, I would want you to take us through a blow-by-blow account of proceedings in court today.
Well, so Emefa, the OSP's case to the court was that it had conducted a search in Madam Cecilia Dapaah's matrimonial home and discovered an amount of $590,000 and 2.7 million Ghana cedis. The OSP suspected that the property were tainted property and based on went ahead to freeze the said accounts. The OSP also found an undisclosed amount of transactions in the 2 accounts of the former minister. The accounts were today named Societe Generale and Prudential Bank. the OSP said it suspected that the property was tainted, and as they were investigating Madam Dapa for corruption and corruption-related activities, they went ahead to freeze it. Now, the OSP made a point that the fact remains that the sources of the money remain doubtful, and that went ahead to issue its freezing orders. And so, per the act that established the OSP, when an asset had been seized and frozen by the OSP needs to confirm at the High Court within a period of 7 days. Now, the case of Madam Cecilia Dapa, she opposed the application. It was a contention that the OSP had breached its own law by not confirming such seizures and freezing of her account within the mandatory 7 days set by its enabling legislation. And so if the court goes ahead to confirm and endorse the acts of the OSP, it may be giving its blessing to illegalities, and that will mean the court will be condoning lawlessness. She said conditions precedent for the OSP to seize and freeze her account were not met before the OSP acted, and that the OSP has failed to properly invoke the jurisdiction of the court. So to Madam Cecilia Dapa, the property she had acquired were acquired long before she came into public office, and she is not enmeshed in any corruption or corruption-related activity. Now, the ruling of the court set down 4 main issues for determination in its ruling. The first was the capacity of the one who authorized the affidavit. It was established that it was not the OSP himself who authorized it. It was done by someone who was authorized to do so, and so the presumption of regularity had been satisfied, and that the objection by Madam Cecilia Dapa on the basis of capacity was far-fetched and without any justification. The second issue the court looked at was whether the condition precedent for the seizure of the property was met. The court said the OSP acted in excess of jurisdiction. The OSP failed to confirm the seizure within 7 days, and the court cannot purport to do something which is illegal. The court said they are mandated to uphold the law and not condone breaches. And secondly, the OSP did not meet the conditions set out in its own act that gives him the power to seize the property. The OSP describes as tainted property. So the court said the former minister had demonstrated that she was not concealing any property because the property the OSP found in her home could have been concealed during the subsistence of the criminal case, but the respondent did not do so. And the OSP also failed to justify any reasonable suspicion of the property being tainted. To the court, what the OSP has done is to interfere with the property of Madam Cecilia Dapa, and that's in breach of the Constitution. And on the final issue, the freezing of the property of the former minister while an ongoing investigation, which outcome is yet to be known, is not rooted in law. That's according to the court. And that the OSP acted on mere speculation, was reactionary to public sentiment, and acted without any legal authority. The court thus ordered the OSP to unfreeze the account of Madam Cecilia Dapa and return the property he discovered in her matrimonial home within a period of 7 days. And so this was really what happened in court today.
Well, interesting. Mere speculation, reaction to public sentiments, and without legal basis. What then was the reaction of the OSP to these orders?
Well, so the court was a virtual one, and for the first time we saw virtually Madam Cecilia Dapa, her lawyers, and then that of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Because of the breakages in the link, we couldn't really see them, but we could see all of them during the ruling of the court.
Well, so that's my colleague Richard Kojo Nyako, legal affairs correspondent, then bringing us details of the High Court's ruling. Within 7 days, the OSP is supposed to unfreeze the account of Madame Cecilia Dapa, and the court rules that their decision was based on mere speculation and reaction to public sentiment, and also without legal basis. Let me bring in private legal practitioner Osman Alhassan. Really, I'm wondering what then this means for the OSP's corruption and corruption-related investigation. Surprised at this particular ruling? Hello, Mr. Osman.
Hello.
If you can hear me, I'm wondering about what this particular ruling by the court is stating that the OSP's decision was based on mere speculation and reaction to public sentiment and also without legal basis. What would this then do to the OSP's corruption and corruption-related investigations?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think we should look at the propriety of the court's order. Now, if the court's order is proper, then we can say that even though on the face of it, it gives an impression of some kind of restrictions or thwart of the efforts of the special prosecutor, the corruption fight, there's nothing we can do if the order is proper. So I think it is first important to establish whether
but from where you sit, Mr. Lassan, is the court order proper?
I think, I to be honest, I haven't seen the order yet. But the excerpts I have gotten from the reportage so far is telling me that the court refused to confirm the seizure because one, the application for the seizure was late, and that there was no conditions precedent for the exercise of the special prosecutor's power of search in the first place. And so these are the main things we should be looking at. And then I'll be looking at also the order of the court to return the property. Now, if you look at the condition precedent for a seizure, the special prosecutor has two instances where it can search a property of an accused person and seize the property. It can do so with warrant, and it can do so in emergency situations where there will be no need for warrant. And in emergency situations where the special prosecutor or an authorized officer from that special prosecutor has unreasonable grounds, believes that the property is tainted, and the time for going to take a warrant and all that will jeopardize a loss or destruction of the property.
Okay.
Then it can go, the special prosecutor can go and search the property without warrant and seize it. And
but I'm curious at this point, Mr. Hassan, does this mean, or this particular ruling today and what we're hearing from the court, does it bring to an end any other issues that have been brought up against Madam Cecilia Abnadapa?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But you see, any criminal proceedings is a proceedings where evidence will be needed. And you see, that's why the Special Prosecutors Act has provided two very important conditions for a seizure of property. Because sometimes the property you have seized affords evidence for the commission of the offense. Now, definitely, this order does not stop the prosecution.
Okay.
But the point is, if you are prosecuting, and also the rationale behind the prosecution. Why must we always prosecute and put people in jail while the property is lost to the state?
Okay. Well, these are issues we'll get to interrogate further. Osman Lalassan, we're grateful. That's a private legal practitioner. We stay on matters relating to law, and the cries of 16,000 customers of the defunct gold dealership Men's Gold could soon be answered as the Attorney General files a total of 39 fresh charges against Nana Appiah-Mensah and two others. Arrested 5 years ago and over 36 adjournments at the Circuit Court, the fresh charges automatically render the pending criminal case at the lower court against the first accused person, Nana Appiah-Mensah, moot. The new charges include selling gold contrary to the Minerals and Mining Act, operating a deposit-taking business without a license, defrauding by false pretense, and money laundering, amongst others. Lawyer for the aggrieved customers, Amanda Clinton, says her clients are only interested in justice and the recovery of their funds.
But it's also a bit surprising, I think, that the charges in relation to operating without a license appear to have been dropped, unless I stand corrected. And to me, that would have been quite easy to prove, because SEC was, often saying that, he's operating without the license. We warned him. And so for me, that would have been quite an easy group of charges to have added. Once more, I really think that, as many of you know, far more than 16,000 people were involved in this in terms of investing in this, although the government does admit to at least 16,000 and, over $1 billion Ghana cedis the government admits to was invested. But, the figures are far higher. The loss has been far more, not just the investors, but their families, and people have died. And people have miscarried. One of my clients miscarried due to the absolute stress, and people have also had strokes and different things. So, it is getting closer to election. And not that I'm saying that, government is visiting this again because of that, but we must be seen as acting.
She's also questioning why the Attorney General did not include the wife and sister of Nana Mensah in the fresh charges.
It will also be interesting to see if the other accomplices are on that charge sheet or have a similar charge sheet with it, and that includes his sister Benedicta Pierre and his wife Rose Tete, which both are at large at present. They were similarly charged with him, although far less charges. So it is encouraging from the Attorney General's Department, particularly because the concern was that Mr. Mensah had been emboldened due to the delay in the prosecution. 5 years later, 36 adjournments, and, the people were like, is he being so bold? Because they really aren't prosecuting him. So we hope that this is only the first of many steps.
Well, the case is due to be heard in the High Court on 19th September 2023. Well, reacting to the latest development on X Spaces, Nana Mensah says he looks forward to his day in court, insisting lack of understanding of his business model could be blamed for the perception that he set out to scam his customers.
In a court, because the state prosecution is doing a very good job. They want to. I see fair play because everything that I know that. Based on what the rights that as affirmed and as conferred by the laws of the Republic, I don't think any of my rights have been trampled upon. I think they are putting Article 19E, they're applying it into it fullest, as in the presumption of innocence, so they are doing a great job. And I'm sure once they'll be, I'm subject to the state. So even if I'm going to go 1,000 times, that's fine. Because I'm subject to the state and whatever the state so decides, of course, in line with rule of law, I would subject myself anytime, any day. So yeah, the issue about being called a fraudster and what have you, a bothersome perspective. So I granted the men's gold business model, a lot of people didn't have proper understanding because it's technical. Okay,
That's Nana Mensah, #1. Now, this afternoon, the Ad Hoc Committee of Parliament says it has no intention of fabricating stories that will unduly implicate senior police officers captured in the leaked audio, which has details suggesting a plot to remove the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare. Lawyers for COP Alex Mensah, one of the senior police officers accused of asking former regional chairman of the NPP, Bugri Nabu, to engineer the dismissal of the IGP, says some comments made by some members of the Parliament's committee portends bias and prejudice ahead of the appearance of the COP today.
It's reported on Ghana Web. Yes. And Mr. Chairman, if you're on that, I may read the reportage I have here. The Member of Parliament for Wild West, Peter Lanchini Tobu, says hellfire awaits police officers whose names were mentioned in the IGP's attempted elimination leaked tape. He was emphatic that those individuals will regret ever choosing the police as a profession. Peter Lanchini Tobu, who is a former police officer, told NEAT FM's morning show, Ghana Munti, that an officer found guilty will be harshly dealt with. This is a disgrace, and they will regret it, he said. However, when Parliament sits in a manner that affects the rights of a citizen, that sitting ought to be construed as such. And in a situation where you have the person coming to determine the rights of the individual, making comments before he even heard that individual, we are very alarmed.
Well, the Vice Chairman of the committee, James Agalga, and a member of the committee, an MP for Wild West, Peter Lanchini Tobu, have been reacting.
This committee is made up of members who have integrity. You see, Honorable Chairman, the statement attributed to me is purported to have been authored by a newspaper called The Standard. The Standard is a newspaper that I don't know of. Number two, the matter before us originated from a debate on the floor of the House in which I contributed. In fact, my contributions to the statement read by the Deputy Minority Leader was comprehensive. I canvassed for the idea of a probe. And I did make conditional statements. That one, we can't take things on their face value. We need to authenticate the tape.
I am hearing these words for the first time. And for Ghana Web, I don't know who they are and where they are. If you are talking about social media, I'm sure we are all in this country. Sometimes they ascribe things to people, and when you read them yourself, you get shocked. And actually, I'm surprised with hellfire for whoever will do what.
Well, let me bring in my colleague Samuel Imbura. He's been monitoring events in Parliament for us. Imbura, so let's talk about how this particular situation was resolved by the committee.
Well, after listening to the concerns of the lawyers of Mr. C.O.P. Mensah, the committee chairman, Mr. Atachia, assured justice will prevail after listening to the evidence. He craved the indulgence of the lawyers to trust Parliament on the fact-finding mission and overruled the objections.
So give us the opportunity, let it roll out, and we'll see. But as I sit as the chairman here, and I know the members of this committee, I do not believe there can ever be malice aforethought, and I won't permit it. I don't believe that this is a forum for me to run down senior police officers or invent evidence against them. I don't think anybody here will do that. So I'll crave your indulgence that give us all the evidence you have concerning the voice, the voice messages of those members. But I come back to my initial point.
Well, Imbura, now walk us through the other issues that came up whilst the police chiefs were answering questions by the ad hoc committee.
So at the moment, after the committee chairman overruling their objections, they said their concerns were about biases. So if the committee chairman is assuring them, they have no issues. But the tape is currently being played. We know it's over 1 hour, and that's about 30 minutes of the tape is what we are hearing now. So we are patiently waiting for the tape to end. Then the proceedings will continue from there.
I'll leave you to go and take a bite at it as well. That's my colleague Samuel Imbura there reporting from Parliament. This is the Midday News, proudly brought to you by Petrosol. Your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duroplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duroplus goes, water flows. We've been hearing proceedings from the High Court where they've ordered the Office of the Special Prosecutor to return Cecilia Dapar seized properties within the next 7 days, insisting the OSP's actions were based on mere speculation and reaction to public sentiment without legal basis. We return with sport, and then also the Ghana Integrity Initiative is raising concerns about timing of newly established emoluments committee by the president to review salaries and compensation of Article 71 office holders.
What is the justification for any president to want to constitute a committee which would then set up emoluments? The president could have decided that it's not an urgent matter.
when budgets are tight and money difficult to come by. You want to be sure you get the best value for your money. These are not times to be spending money fixing expensive engine problems because of cheap fuel and lubricants. Drive to a petrol source station today and buy your quality fuel and lubricants, and rest assured of fuel that lasts long and lubricants that prevent expensive engine problems. Hear the sound. Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity.
Time for sports on the Midday News. Danny Cranting is here.
Hi, Emefa. English Championship side Leicester City have officially announced the signing of Ghana international Abdul Fattah Issahaku. The former Dreams FC forward joins the club on a season-long loan deal from Portuguese side Sporting Lisbon. The 19-year-old says he chose the 2021 FA Cup champions due to their track record of improving players.
I'm so happy, and this is an amazing moment for me. And I think from the look of Leicester and how I talked with the coach, the plans he got for me and how he wanted me to play, and so I think here was the best for me. I chose Leicester because I think they can grow me well and I get more mature then.
You heard new Leicester City forward Abdul Fattah Issahaku speaking there. That's all for sports. Back to you, Emefa.
Thank you very much, Danny. Now, concerns are being raised by anti-corruption campaigners regarding the establishment of an emoluments committee by the president on Wednesday aimed at reviewing and determining compensation and benefits for Article 71 office holders. The president charged the newly constituted committee, chaired by Dr. Janet Fufie, to be mindful of the prevailing economic conditions in making their recommendations.
In recent times, a lot of public discourse surrounding the remuneration of public officers has centered primarily on those of Article 71 office holders, and whether or not, notwithstanding the constitutional imperatives, we are deserving of what is being paid to us in view of the challenges currently confronting our national economy. It might well be that your work should also focus on these concerns and make recommendations on how they should be addressed. The task ahead of you is a challenging one, and it is my expectation and hope that you'll be up to it and deliver your report expeditiously.
Well, the 5-member committee comprises of former Minister of Planning, Professor Jan Bafo, and Chief Executive of the Fair Wages Commission, Ben Arthur. Well, Chairperson Dr. Janet Fufie is hopeful the committee's recommendation will be fair to all sectors.
Your Excellency, as a retired Article 71 office holder myself, I'm keenly aware of the significance of this committee. I'm also aware of the sometimes very heated debates in our national conversations over the years on this matter. It is my hope that the committee will get valuable insights, views, inputs, and support from all stakeholders to enable us deliver a comprehensive and timely report to His Excellency for your consideration and approval.
But the Ghana Integrity Initiative believes, even though constitutional, it is not justified for the president to have set up the committee considering the current economic crisis. Yes, Mariada.
The public sector continues to advocate, and the various labor unions have been up in arms that their salaries should be introduced to a certain percentage, which has not happened. And so you see a lot of strikes and others currently ongoing by some unions. And so you begin to ask yourself, what is the justification for any president to want to constitute a committee which would then set up emoluments to improve the fortunes of those who would be leaving office?
Now it's time for Tech Thursday, and we know the lack of traffic signals on many roads in Ghana poses danger to commuters. Power cuts also render these signals unusable, resulting in accidents. But there's good news, as students of the Sunyani Technical University have come up with a less costly solar-powered portable traffic lights. We can easily be moved to affected areas. Love FM's Kwesi Debra speaks with the developers.
The portable traffic signal, mounted on rollers, is light enough to be carried around by one person whenever the need arises.
So this is a portable solar-based traffic system that we use. It is a movable one as well. So we use it when there is lights out or when there is malfunction in the traffic lights outside. We use it so that instead of having a police or an instructor to direct people where to pass, you put it there and then it will be telling us where to pass. And the advantage of this over the others is that when there is no light, we can use this because it uses solar. It takes energy from the sun and converts it into electricity to power it. And then we have a battery that is embedded inside too. So once it's taking the electricity, it's also charging the battery as well for us. So in case maybe it's a rainy day and then there is no sun for the solar panels to work, we have an alternative down here that works for it.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
And that's how we end today's edition of the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Living Word